Inflation rates have been on the rise in most wealthy economies since 2020, but Switzerland's marching to the beat of its own drum. While countries like Germany, the EU, and the United States are feeling the inflation heat, Switzerland's keeping its cool with a surprisingly low inflation rate of 3.3% in September 2022. So is Switzerland a financial wonderland? Well, at least when it comes to dodging inflation, it seems like they got it all figured out. The secret? The Swiss franc's flexing its muscle and keeping prices in check, along with a few other tricks up its sleeve. 1. Switzerland's historically remarkable pricing stability. Switzerland has experienced far less price hikes over the last 20 years in terms of annual inflation rates than other nations like France, Germany, and the US. This was especially evident in the 2008-2009 global financial and economic crisis. In 2022, Switzerland's inflation rate hit a 29-year peak at 3.5%. While this may seem high for the Swiss, it's nothing compared to the double-digit inflation rates in other countries. The United States is at a whopping 9.1%. The UK is at a staggering 11.1%, and the Eurozone is at a mind-boggling 10.6%. Looks like Switzerland is keeping it cool in the world of inflation. 2. The powerful Swiss currency is the prime cause of low inflation. Part of the reason for Switzerland's above-average pricing stability is the Swiss franc. The value of the country's currencies increased over the past few decades. In 2008, one Swiss franc was worth about 60 euro cents, but by December 2022, it was approximately 1 euro. The Swiss franc's reputation as a safe haven for financial assets is like having a VIP pass to the money party. When making investments in Switzerland, you gotta be speaking the language of Swiss francs. This boosts the Swiss franc's value, like giving it a fancy makeover. But here's the plot twist. When the Swiss franc's value goes up, it's basically throwing shade at the euro, making it feel less cool. This means stuff imported into Switzerland gets cheaper, like getting a discount on designer goods, so inflation takes a chill pill. However, having a strong currency is like flexing too hard at the gym. It makes local products super pricey on the global stage. Swiss businesses might as well be selling gold-plated watches. Export potential takes a hit, like trying to sell snow to Eskimos. Apart from the strong Swiss franc, we'll talk about 5 more reasons why inflation in Switzerland is minimal. Stay with us. Reason number 1. Labor productivity in Switzerland is great. The strong Swiss franc has a negative impact on the nation's business capacity to compete internationally. Despite this, there's a global market for their products. The amazing production level in the Swiss economy provides a justification for this. As per the January 2022 economic report published by the OECD, Switzerland's labor productivity stands among the highest among all OECD countries. Reducing the amount of inputs required to produce a given number of commodities is implied through boosting productivity. This helps to keep inflation down. Reason number 2. Reduced demand for fossil fuels and price controls on electricity. Switzerland gets nearly all its electricity from nuclear and hydropower. In 2021, 61.5% of the electricity produced in the country came from hydropower and roughly 29% came from nuclear power. Increasing prices for coal, gas, and oil are therefore having less of an impact in Switzerland than they are in Germany, despite the fact that they're currently driving inflation in a number of countries. In fact, in Switzerland, the electricity market is like a strict parent, tightly controlled and not giving you any freedom to choose your own power provider. It's like being stuck in a never-ending game of Monopoly, where the providers have to follow strict rules and set their prices based on how much it costs to produce electricity. Unfortunately, this means that consumers are missing out on the current high costs of gas power plants. It's like trying to play a game of Monopoly without passing go or collecting $200. Reason number 3. Switzerland has the highest proportion of controlled pricing in Europe. Switzerland has rigorous regulations governing the cost of other goods and services in addition to energy pricing. Approximately 1/3 of the items used to determine the inflation rate are subject to price limits. As of yet, no European country has such a high proportion. Since merchants typically only tweak their prices temporarily, they're less likely to be caught off guard by sudden market shifts. Plus, don't expect authorities to clue you in on global market changes. They're too busy making pricing decisions on who knows what. Reason number 4. Switzerland does so much trade with its neighbors, but it's able to control inflation. When it comes to Switzerland's shopping list, they're all about the bling with gold, cars, and car parts topping the charts. Add in some machinery, metal, and chemical products, and you've got yourself a Swiss import party. And the best part, they get all these goodies straight from their EU neighbors, bypassing any pesky delays that usually come with international trade. Who needs ports and distribution centers when you got trains and trucks delivering your goods faster than you can say Swiss chocolate? The lack of necessities from Switzerland's primary imports is another key consideration. Therefore, if their prices rise, individuals can choose to cease consuming them or switch to less expensive alternatives, minimizing imported inflation. On the flip side, Switzerland exports luxury goods like jewelry, watches, and gold, which are less impacted by the same causes that influence other low-margin goods. In a similar way, a sizable share of Swiss exports are made up of pharmaceuticals. Also, the Swiss currency is as steady as a rock, giving the country the upper hand in negotiating import deals with other EU countries and keeping prices from going through the roof. Reason number 5. Import levies on agricultural items are considerable. Switzerland's also somewhat impacted by the other cause of global inflation, which is the soaring cost of agricultural goods. This is mostly because agricultural items are subject to significant import duties in the country. Switzerland charges an average tariff of a little less than 43% on agricultural imports. It's approximately 12.6% in the European Union. So basically, if the food's Swiss made, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny in import tariffs. But if it's from somewhere else, like cotton or shellfish, the tariffs aren't as bad. Switzerland's strict regulations on agricultural products mean that food prices there are totally out of whack compared to the rest of the world. So even if prices are skyrocketing globally, it's no biggie for the Swiss. Reason number 6. Methodological discrepancies in inflation computation. Estimating inflation's like putting together a shopping cart full of stuff that represents the country, and then keeping an eye on how the prices change over time. We call this whole price hike situation inflation. The shopping cart in Switzerland has different items than the one in the European Union. One big difference is the delivery charge, which gets more expensive because of rising energy costs, unlike the Swiss goodies in the cart. Switzerland uses the Eurostat method to rank its inflation internationally. However, as a result, there's currently a downward gap between the Swiss inflation rate and the country's consumer pricing strategy. Switzerland has many unique characteristics that have led to the current state of inflation. The strong Swiss currency provides the main reasoning, but it's well clear that the weakening euro contributes to the franc's increase. Switzerland, known for its fondness of market manipulations like price control, is not afraid to get its hands dirty when it comes to keeping inflation in check. Even by Swiss standards, inflation is soaring, and Switzerland can't escape the inflationary grip of Europe and beyond. With its unique position, costs are sky high in Switzerland, making even the EU look like a bargain bin. Thanks to hefty import taxes, Swiss consumers are shelling out more for their groceries than they would in a parallel universe where prices are dropping worldwide. So while the rest of the world may be enjoying lower prices in the future, Swiss shoppers will still be feeling the pinch. Living in Switzerland's like playing an expensive game of Monopoly compared to the rest of Europe. As Credit Suisse puts it, everything in Switzerland comes with a high price tag. Even before any drama unfolded in 2021, the cost of living in Ukraine was already 51% higher than in Germany. So think of Switzerland's high cost of living as the ultimate insurance policy against global inflation. It's like paying for a deluxe VIP pass to economic stability. Even though Switzerland's known for its low inflation and wealthy citizens, the country's currently facing the challenges of deflation, which is putting a damper on its economic growth. Switzerland may be keeping inflation in check, but it's also slowing down its economic progress in the process. But hey, Switzerland isn't losing sleep over it. After all, they've got a stable economy and the richest folks around, living the high life like no one else in the world. And let's not forget, they've got the highest GDP per capita to boot. Just another day in paradise for the Swiss. Switzerland has somehow managed to make the impossible possible when it comes to their economy. Other countries should definitely take a page out of Switzerland's book to avoid breaking the bank on everyday purchases.